What it do? What it do? We back. I know y'all used to seeing me on Fridays, but we couldn't go to an election without doing a show. So I'm at a watch party right now at a secret, closed location. It was invite only. So we here. I was gonna walk around a little bit, and I probably just go back and forth to the TV. But I figured I started the show off, just me and you having a quick conversation, seeing how everything goes, leave in the chat box how your election process went, because it's the night of. It's 8 o'clock. Most of the polls around the country are closed. There's people still voting, but we here. We at a watch party. You at the virtual watch party for all the things that's about to go down tonight. We're gonna try to follow it as much as we can. We got some amazing people that's gonna come through, chat with us, talk about their experience on election, what they think the results gonna be, how they felt like the get out and vote uh, campaign was, the temperament of the election process as a whole. This is my favorite time of the year, but I'm an election junkie. I like to get out and vote. I like to get out and vote process. I like to talk to people. I like to campaign on behalf of who we think should win or lose. What's going on, Mr. Friendly? Good to see you. Thanks for joining, man. I hope your election process went good. If you want to come on and talk, man, put it in your chat. Put it in the chat. We try to get you on here if you want to say a couple words. But listen, obviously you see who I'm supporting today, but we're gonna have some bipartisanship to come on the show. Hopefully, I invited some my Republican counterparts. Some independents might come through. Definitely have the Democrats coming in here. We all watching the election. We all have a stake in this thing. We all are going to be affected either way of how this goes. So we just waiting to see, how everything goes down. And I'm on my phone today, so this a little different than normally. I'm in front of the computer. I'm sorry, I haven't been on my phone in a while because when we first started this thing a couple months ago, this was my go-to. So since we traveled to the watch party to do our virtual watch party, this is how we got to go. So I might get up a little bit, walk around, make sure my phone don't die. I'm gonna have to go charge it and plug it up somewhere. But this is what we got, man. We here. We just talking about it. We was engaged in CNN. We was engaged in Fox today, and the missus told me to put my biases down when I listen to Fox. Take some deep breath, and they actually, before they got to their specialty shows later on that day, they did a good job. I think, she thinks, we think that they had good debate on why and why not. Whoever your choice for president, whoever your choice for vice president, they had good debate. We saw that the battleground states are definitely in play. It was the campaign manager for the Biden camp said some things, and see if anybody want to talk about that later, or put it in the chat. Let me know you here. Put it in the chat, and we do that. So, we're live on YouTube right now at Antwan C. Brown. But we are here. So if you watching on YouTube or if you watching on Facebook, throw me a chat. All right, Sean, put it up there, man. We're gonna do that thing. All right. So tell the missus I say hello. Tell her thanks for watching. So we here, man. We're gonna do this thing. We're gonna eventually make our way out. It's a little loud right now. But we're gonna make our way out in front of a television. So you're gonna see me moving around a little bit. So I'm gonna move around, get in front of what I need to get in front of so we can kind of watch this thing unfold. We got some special things that's gonna come up a little later. I'll let the producer tell me what time we'll start those type of activities. She's gonna let me know when our guests come up in here. What's up, bro? How you, man? Good to see you. See, we we're gonna see, how we're gonna do this thing. But this is the Road to 270 show. Make sure you, as you see in the ticker, make sure you subscribe to my elected official page. It's an elected official Antwan Brown on Facebook and the YouTube channel at Antwan C. Brown. Antwan C. Brown. Hey, make sure you follow me because we're not talking just all local stuff. We talking national. Of course, I'm in Prince George's County. I am an elected official for the Democratic Central Committee. I have to say that because some of my things that I say right now, is part of my bylaws, I can't root for or against, certain people and certain party of how that go down. So clearly, I said I'm on the Democratic Central Committee, so I'm not going to say anything bad about the Democrats. I am going to be. I'm giving my opinion because if things don't look right, it don't look right. If things are shifting, I like to talk about the person, not their party. And that's what I'm going to do tonight. That's the conversations we're going to have. We're going to talk about people, not necessarily their party. And we're gonna keep it moving, man. You might hear some noise. You hear the door knock because I'm upstairs in the office. The host was gracious enough to let me sit down and work my thing today. So, but we live. We doing our show. Let's see. Anybody in the chat want to holler at me today? Let's see who here. All right. So we got that. We have no results for the Maryland race yet. So let me see. Let's bring in one of the guests, Felicia. Whoever you want to bring in to start this conversation off tonight. Let's go for it. Hey, Camille. How are you? Ooh, I can't hear you. It might be me, Camille. Hold on.
Okay, there we go. How's that? Can you hear me now? Great.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. I can't complain. Anxious to get this over with.
We got.
I know. I don't know that I'm going to be up all night, but I hear you. No promises.
Okay. Well, listen, everybody that comes to the show,
you're going in and out, so I'm hearing every other word here.
Oh, that's not good. This will happen.
Can't see my Biden shirt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, that's better.
So first, everybody that goes to the show Friday.
I'm still getting every other word. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was perfect before.
No. Okay.
Nope. I heard that. Okay. Okay. In and out. Okay. Okay, you want me to leave and come back in?
Hey, Camille, how you doing?
You?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
I can. I can.
Okay, so Antwan's coming back now, so let's see.
Okay. Perfect.
Go ahead, Antwan.
This is where Trump cut in deeply to the Democratic Party right here. So now you come out here.
Go ahead, speak, say something.
2020. It's a great race. This tells you, no matter how this ends.
He's still in and out.
This is a very different campaign than we had 4 years ago. And Joe Biden was more competitive than Hillary Clinton. You see Michigan votes.
You might have to come out, reconnect your phone to the earpiece.
Now, how about now?
Better. There you
Better. All right, bye bye.
Okay. Woo. My head. Okay, I had it on the wrong thing the whole time.
No problem. No problem.
Okay. All right. Whew. See, that's why you got people to help you, Camille. You got good people in your corner. Help. Okay, let's start this show over. Let's start it over.
All right.
So, everybody that comes on the show, we do a Friday show. You know, this is a special election show. So everybody come on here and tell me how they met me and say one good thing about me. If you don't, I'm gonna have Felicia kick you off the show and we're gonna try it again. So go ahead, it's on you.
Let's see. I guess we met probably maybe somewhere in the range of 6 to 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Something like
Somewhere
that.
around there.
Campaigning here in Prince George's County. You were running for elective office, I think, for the first time.
That was 10 years ago.
That
was 10 years ago.
10. Wow. Okay, so maybe 10. I was getting out of elective office. So here in Prince George's County, and just ready to move into a different phase of life, if you will. So I've seen you grow over those 10 years. Looking forward to what you do. I know you're very thoughtful and intelligent and compassionate leader. So looking forward to other leadership opportunities for you.
I appreciate it, and I hope those words come to fruition in the future.
Okay.
Yes. So how was your election process? Long lines? Was it long lines? Did you early vote or you went today?
My first time, I did an absentee ballot.
Okay.
So I dropped it off at the local Board of Election mailbox drop box because I did not want to deal with any line and any crowd. Typically, election day, I'm out in the streets working. So this has been the first election probably since I was 5 that I wasn't out at the polls working and stumping for a campaign or candidate. So feels good to just relax for a change.
we all need it. I know it's not the break that you was looking forward to on this day, but you all need a little break sometimes.
Right.
You've been going a long time.
Good. I have.
Yeah.
That's a little better. Yes.
Right. That's good. Okay. So I'm not gonna just be on here because I can sit here and talk to you all day. I got some other people that's probably in there. We're gonna bring them on, just have a little conversation because that's all my show is. It's just for us talk about what's going on. And today's the election. I'm just gonna talk and see how it is, just to see the pulse of how you feel, how they feel, and hopefully we can get some results. And I'm gonna do a little special little thing a little later so you can watch. You can stay for the whole time, and I know you're not, but you can stay as long as you feel. Just whenever you're ready to roll, just say, "Hey, Antwan, I'm gonna call it a night."
Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right. Felicia, I think Norris is in the waiting room, right? Can you bring Norris on?
Hey. Can you hear me?
Hey, brother Norris, I can hear you perfectly. How about you? Can you hear me?
I'm doing great. Yes, I can.
All right, that's good. So Norris, this is your first time on the show too. I've been trying to get you for a little bit.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
Worked out
Okay.
perfect this time.
Yes. So tell everybody how you know me. You have to say one thing nice, or Felicia's gonna kick you out, and you're gonna come back and try it again. If you know, so you figured out one thing nice about me to say.
All right. Well, I'll tell the clean story how I met.
All right. That's thanks. We live. I appreciate it.
No, so it's very unique. I actually met Antwan probably about 2 months ago, two and a half, 3 months ago. We were just at a birthday gathering, and actually I didn't know who he was. We were sitting down watching those poor New York Giants play, and I don't even know how we got on the subject of just, I wouldn't say politics, but kind of like just where the world is going now, and he allowed me to spread my views on how I see things. And one of the most positive things I can say about him is that you're one of the first or few Black African American men who like spoke something into me. He talked to me about, possibly doing some type of running when I get out. For those people who don't know, I'm currently in the active duty Air Force, been in 16 years. Got my last 4 years to go here in DC. And he just spoke into me. We spoke a lot about, our thoughts, our processes. I told him how I would run if I was running for office, and he was very open to my ideas and some of the ideas we kind of kicked back and forth. And it started off just watching football and kind of turned into like life. So I want to say thank you for that, because it actually inspired me, kind of kicked something in me. And this is the first year for me to vote.
Yeah.
So I did the absentee ballot, and just talking to you and talking about what's going on in the world, like kind of just made me get more hungry to see what's actually going on. So that's the positive.
So Camille, like you said, you know how it's far and few you meet somebody that you got kin spirit with. So when I met Norris, it was like, as good brother. So we just organic conversation about what's going on. So
Great.
yeah, another piece of Norris is he's a social worker, and I feel like the world is going to shift towards being need of social work in all fields. They're going to be prominent. They used to be prominent back in the day where everything they did in society was a part of it, from the laws down to just working with patients. And I kind of think it kind of shifted and moved to more of the clinical side of it. Kind of got out of politics, got out of the organizational part. But how our world's turning now, and I think we're gonna need them. So when I saw black man, 16 years experience, worldly experience, he's definitely marketable to any campaign and election cycle.
Appreciate it.
Excellent.
Yeah, so that's why I got him on here, Camille, just because I knew he can only give us so much because he still have a code of ethics he has to follow. And we don't want to get him locked up and kicked out before he finishes 20. So I understand that. I understand that. But hey, so Norris, you want to kick us off? Anything you want to talk about before we get started?
Yes. I'm glad you started with me. So I got a question for you. Probably you, Miss Camille. You probably can answer it as well. My biggest thing, especially being, I consider myself fairly young. I'm 35. So, and just being a first-time voter is, I started asking a lot of people, were they familiar with who they're voting for? And it seems to be a big trend that a lot of people aren't really familiar with the plans that these candidates have for us. Is that something that you have seen over time? Is that normally kind of familiar, like, or is that normal?
Yes, that's I find it to be typical.
Okay.
In local and national politics. Unfortunately, I think it's just where we are as Americans and as a society. For whatever reason, we get the majority of our information on social media or television.
Mm-hmm.
And those, of course, with social media, you're getting a quick bite. Television is like that now, too. You get a quick bite. And I tell my family members all the time, if you hear something, that's not for you to form your opinion based on what you heard. That's for you to then go out and do research and find out what is actually the whole picture and the whole story of what you heard. So you just heard a snippet of it to get you engaged and keep you watching. It's not the whole story. So that's the same thing with candidates. You may hear a snippet of something that's not, again, to understand and know everything you need to know about a candidate potentially. That's just to pique your interest, get you engaged, and have you do the homework and the research that it takes to hopefully be informed in terms of who you'll vote for.
Okay. Because that was one of the biggest things, especially for me, just being, in the career field I'm in. We do a lot of studying, a lot of research, and just reading up on, Biden's plan. I don't know if a lot of people went to Biden's site, kind of reading his vision and what he sees for things. I was just wondering how a lot of people look at some of the plans. Do you guys feel like those plans are going to be something that's going to be feasible, and not only just feasible? Because the one plan that I was concerned about was the middle class plan that he has going. Trying to help the middle class, but he also has the tax plan as well, which which mentioned like increasing taxes for those who make around 400,000 or more. But my biggest concern is, when taxes are increased for the wealthy, that's going to in turn increase things like taxes and cost of living, and it's going to be a domino effect. It's not just increasing taxes for the wealthy, because the wealthy is normally where we as consumers buy a lot of our products. You think about someone like Walmart or those people who are very wealthy, the cost of living goes up. I remember as a child, like I said, I don't want to consider myself older, but I remember as a child when chips were $4 for $1. And now you get one bag of chips for $1. And I'm sure that goes into hand and play. And I wondered, like, do you see anything with that, like being familiar with like how the world goes? Because my fear is that a lot of these plans could eventually cause us to be in a deeper financial debt, especially being African Americans. Because like 27.3% of African Americans only make $25,000 to $50,000 a year.
Right. I don't really see most of it to be feasible, because you really you have the president is the executive branch, but you have the legislative branch. While he may have a proposal or he may have an idea that he wants to move forward, you still have to go through that process. Now, going through the whole process of legislation at the federal level is very intensive. It takes forever. And most times what you send in doesn't come out looking the same.
So you're absolutely right.
Credence to that process. That's me. There's a book that's called The Broken Branch. And it talks about the federal legislative branch and why it's broken and how it takes so long for anything to move forward, if it moves at all. So notwithstanding the president's, hopes and visions and all those things, you have to have a cooperative legislative branch. So if the president, the party that wins the presidency doesn't have control of the legislative branch, then that creates a log jam, and that's probably most things probably aren't going to happen in that fashion.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely right. And with the presidents, the last two presidents that we had have proven that same process, that they both tried to get something done. They have to go through the Senate and they got to go through the House. And whoever controls those two seats and those two cycles pretty much wins this race in this game. And one of my friends, and I can't say, I still talk to people from, the old Antwan back when I was in high school. And some of them, we all kind of got older together, who knew. So his analogy was like, it's just one big old gang, one big old mafia. They run in the streets and they got to decide and fight who got turf war and who's going to decide how they're going to win this thing. Like, who going to pull who, what leverage they going to give each other, and what I'm going to get back in return. And they kind of playing that with the American people. So we just got to wait and see how this all plays out. Because again, I said, I don't know if you heard me, Norris, this is what I like about the political cycle, because everybody has an opinion and everybody has a voice. But until it gets to those legislative branches, it don't mean anything. And like Camille said, once we get back to amendments and committees and committees and amendments and amendments and committees, it's not going to look like what you saw. Like, it's my one whole year working in the state and working in Annapolis made me. It was a rude awakening that I thought I knew something until I got in there. It was like, man, this is intense. This is quick. This is fast. You have to process. They have a very hard job, especially on the Maryland side, because it's 3 months and so many laws goes in, and so many committees and so many meetings, and how you talk to the public and get their information. And then it's 1 or 2 or maybe 10 people in the committee or one person leading it. You got to process all that information and get out the best quality legislation for the community, which, if you're not passionate about it, or if you have your own agenda, some of these things get screwed and messed up for underserved people most of the time, but it's just how it is. So we just gotta wait and see on that process for it to play out. But Camille, if I said something wrong, please correct me at any time.
No, you're right. You're right. It's I guess when I look at things, I'm trying to figure out how we got here, and I guess that's what I'm struggling most with. How, we came to be a country that's so divisive, down to the television you watch. There was a time when news was allegedly impartial. Now the newspapers have a side already. So, I can't understand how we got here. It's kind of like Charles Dickens' book, where he talked about the best of times. It was the best of times and the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of incredulity. It was the season of light. It's the season of darkness. All of this at the same time. How did we get here? It seemed like we were just really at the cusp of being, in my opinion, who we suppose and purport to be. But I guess we have so far to go.
It's. I always go back to Barack Obama's change in tide, really stirred up this party. We started going from different sides. It's just the history of our country. But I'm gonna stop us for 1 second, because I know I want to say, hey, Angela. So if y'all look at the bottom, we got ticker. So my little show got a little ticker come through. It's gonna say little stuff. Probably gonna give some information, because my producer in the background is a beautiful, smart woman that I love to death. Hey, Norris, it's my wife. I'm just buttering up a little. So beautiful, smart woman. that that does a great job with that. But I also know I have a great man that's in the waiting room, so let's bring him on. Yes, she don't want to bring him on. So we're gonna wait.
Okay.
We're gonna wait. We're gonna wait, and we're gonna come back to him. But whenever you get this, Fee, go ahead and bring him on, so we can say, "Oh no, okay, he gone." So we waited too long. So hopefully he joins back in,
Okay.
and we'll get that. We'll get him back on. But I got so this idea to have this show tonight was me and my wife sat, and it was like I think people really need to hear different perspectives of all the things that's going to go on tonight. So that's why I asked you guys to come on just give your perspective, because what I'm finding out as we do these shows and as we talk to people is they don't understand this process. They don't understand a lot about the electoral process and how that's going to work. If this thing go past 30 days, what's going to happen with that. So some of these process about the political parties still not understandable. Even in 2016, when Hillary Clinton lost, but she had the popular vote, like it was, it was. I was reading the ticker. I'm sorry. So it was just kind of all confusing. So I got a video plan for tonight. We got so we got all these different things that's gonna go on tonight. So we can kind of try to break down some of the things. So for next election in 2 years, when we vote for a lot of the local stuff, you know, not presidential election, people can get out and know the process a little bit more. We won't have to worry about the electoral, but it's still just knowing and getting out the information, just knowing about the process. And since I'm a techie, I was like, I want to do it online. I don't want to keep having to knock on doors because I don't want to be like Camille and tired. So I'm just gonna sit
Absolutely.
down here.
Absolutely.
We're gonna sit down here. We're gonna have conversation, and we're gonna spread it as much as possible. So that's what it is. Anybody in the waiting room, Fee? Anybody in the waiting room? Hey Angie, how are you?
Hello.
Hi.
Good, good, good.
Hello, hello.
Angie, I have Camille and Norris. So Angie, this is your first time on the show, and I've been trying to
It
get you
is.
for about 4 months to be on my show. So I appreciate you joining me on this particular one because I
While my
know
nerves are all shot. Sure, no
it,
problem.
it's just me. It's just your brother. So tell the people how you know me because everybody has to do it. Say something nice, and I know that's hard for you, but say
Okay.
something nice about me, Angie. And I'm gonna tell Felicia to kick you out. Okay?
Let's say, okay, so I have to start off with something nice. Yeah, I've known it's been 10 years or so, plus probably.
Mhm. Yeah. Plus.
Um, from the bowling world. But we
Okay.
fast became brother and sister, and he invades my house every Thanksgiving to eat
Hmm.
up all of my food.
Hmm.
The family, but that's my family. My family looks forward to it, but this year is gonna be a little different because of COVID. But we'll get over it and go on to next year. Look forward to next year.
So Angie, like I said, thank you for coming on. We Camille and Norris. Angie has been passionate on her social media about
Okay.
a lot of things and a lot of processes that's been going on. So I wanted to have Angie come and tell me a little bit about some of the issues that she finds to be a problem. But right now, Angie, tell me about your voting process. How did you do it? Did you get a mail in? Did you go in? What it
We
was it
did
like?
we did early voting last Thursday, and it was 30 minutes in and out down here in Charles County. Um, I think we had enough early voting places. Some places didn't have enough early voting, from what I've told. Like Calvert County only had one early voting polling place, which is crazy for 100,000 people.
That
And that's
is.
why they had the lines they had today in their five polling places, which is still to me ignorant. I don't get that, but it was pretty easy. It was I was gonna do mail in. My kids are in college. They did mail in. Um, and made sure both of them sent theirs in. But it was pretty simple. They were very organized. Everybody did COVID. They dealt with COVID very well. So that's about it.
So
I
I don't
had
know
on
if
my
you was
HU t-shirt too. I had my HU sweatshirt so I could represent too.
because that's a whole controversy. They say we don't vote, which I don't understand. But I tell people I live in a real life Uganda where everything around me is black and everything around me. So I know when they look at other counties and other parts of the country, they don't see an educated black voter about some of these processes. But that's not
Right.
what I see. Normally, that's not what I see. And if they're not educated enough, they're willing and able to get the education and move on and do the right thing on their behalf for the best of their families. So it's good. So I don't know if we got any numbers in on Felicia. So if you got some numbers, let me know. But Angie, as we join the show, like I said, I was talking to Norris, and I want to get Camille's opinion on how do you feel about uh, our current president and his education push for HBCUs and stuff like
Uh, it was a long time coming. I mean, I will say that uh, I'm very, as a HBCU graduate, I'm very supportive of HBCUs. So any support that comes their way, they should wholeheartedly accept. Um, I, of course, am suspect of the motive, but again, they should accept whatever comes their way. Uh, educationally, uh, from our president, his policies, I, I think there are tremendous amount of shortcomings from its COVID response to student loan debts. Uh, the Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos,
Mm.
that.
their sexual harassment policies with respect to the schools. So I think there are just all around shortcomings in that whole area from the administration, current administration. So uh, I'll leave it at that.
Okay, all right. Norris, what about you, man? I know I want to ask you something military related so bad, and I know I can't. So I'm gonna leave it to the education part. You want to talk a little bit about that part?
I'm not as versed in that, but to kind of talk about, kind of segue from what Miss Camille was speaking about, I think those moves that are being made in that area of HBCU is kind of what you're seeing as well, with what's the current topic with like Lil Wayne and Ice Cube. He's starting to use us as like that final push. And I feel like even with the HBCUs, the funding and things of that nature, I think that's what's starting to happen. Because you look at myself, being 35, first year voting, that's really the norm this year. It's been a lot of African American celebrities who has been their first year voting. So for us, anything could have swayed our vote. And I feel like a lot of the things that are starting to happen, that is going to be more highlighted towards us as African Americans, he's making that push now because it could change the minds of those young African Americans who are voting for the first time. If I'm taking a photo with Lil Wayne and then I got Ice Cube pushing his, it was a CWBA or platinum plan for us as African Americans. I think it's the same thing they're doing with the HBCUs. I think they're starting to target those things because a lot of us are more influenced by, as Miss Camille talked about earlier, those snippets of what we're getting. Because not too many of us are going to read about, what's being passed when it comes to HBCUs or any type of student debt or loans. So I think it's just one of those things that everything's coming to a head, and we are a big voice this year. African Americans is a
Yes.
huge voice this year, and I think he's making that push towards anything. And I can't really, like you said, I can't really speak on the military side, but I do like the veteran plan that Biden does have in place. That will be something very good for the veterans, and that promotes a lot of our educational benefits that we weren't going to be able to get. A lot of veterans weren't getting their education benefits depending on how they were getting out, what type of how many years they did those type of commitments, or the post 9/11 GI Bill is what it's called right now. It changed. It used to be the Montgomery GI Bill. A lot of those people weren't grandfathered in to receive those education benefits that I get to receive now. So I think that is a big thing when it comes to like the veterans, just to kind of speak a little bit on what I can for the veteran part. So that's my opinion.
I didn't get my veteran benefits, but that's a whole nother argument that I have with the next current president of the United States. So Angie, I muted you because of your background noise, so I can hear noise. So you got to unmute yourself.
Okay.
There you go. Because I was listening to your TV. So I know you got kids in school and college. Have you been looking at any of the presidential plans? Well, we know they all fluff until we find out what the House and the Senate looks like. So, but how do you feel about that? What does that look like you with 2 kids in school right now?
I can honestly say I haven't looked at it. My main focus was like a healthcare plan. I've been waiting on a healthcare plan for 3 years from 45. But we need a healthcare plan because if you get rid of Obamacare or any part of it, it affects, like I work in healthcare, it affects the children at Children's Hospital for pre-existing conditions, for a slew of other, I mean, we have no plan. The people don't realize we standing on nothing right now with Trump in the healthcare if they get rid of Obamacare. But education, I can honestly say, I know DeVos has done nothing. So I really feel for even to have a plan during this COVID period. There's nobody leading any of the school systems and how things should lay out and how they should be structured to even get back into school. Nobody has a plan. Everybody's clueless. They're just winging it. And they're winging it at the cost of our kids.
And you're absolutely right. So with that being said, I'm gonna bring in one more person. Put yourself on mute, Angie. Thank you, sis. So, brother Andre, how are you, sir?
What's going on, Fred?
I am good, Six. Everything is good on my end. Listen, I'm excited because I think everybody on the show outside of Camille gave me a yes first time, but everybody else, I've been tracking y'all down, chasing y'all, clawing y'all to get y'all opinion on this show. So I got all of y'all in one night. There can't be more happy. So first time guest, Dre, I need you to tell people how you know me and then tell something nice about me, or like everybody else gets, Felicia gonna kick you out the production and you gotta try it again.
Okay, well, I've known this brother for a few years. We actually a frat brother. I met him in the bowling alley, and he seems like he has an amazing head on his shoulders. He always is in conversation, and he's always about. And see, I always get behind that. So anytime you have an educated brother that's willing to get out there and put something out in the community, and not just be about words, but be about actions, it's got my attention. He's got my support 50 million%.
And I appreciate that, man, because the same way Angie and Camille, I talked a little bit about Norris when you get kinship in minds. And when you met Twin, he has a twin brother. They look nothing alike, by the way. They look nothing alike. He has an identical twin. So when you meet these two brothers, you immediately feel like, man, I'm like you. Like I can support this guy. So knowing that you into law was another thing. Like, man, you don't see too many people of your skin color enjoying what they do. I know you got passion. Just got a new beautiful wife and a new beautiful kid. So I just wanted to always have you on here just to talk to you a little bit, see how you feel, and you share some of the most detailed information on Facebook that and a variety of topics that we all enjoy every time you do anything between bowling commentating to your political views and some of your fight with some of our Trump supporter friends over the last things, which I invited them to come on to So if we do get any of y'all, everybody remember this is a bipartisan show. We're going to respect everybody's opinion, and we're going to try to do our best to have a civil conversation as much as possible. But if they come on, they come on. So Dre, since you're here, man, I'm gonna let you start off and kick off. Anything you want to talk about, you'll start our next topic. We're just waiting for results to come in because it's about 8:45. I know things should start flowing in a little better probably around 9. And like I told everybody else, you don't have to stay on long. I just wanted to come on and give your views.
Well, I'd just like to start by the fact that I love the fact that you want to speak to other individuals that share different views than ourselves. You know, so many people get caught up in the liberal, conservative sort of conversation that we forget that we all have similar concerns as human beings. You know, we all want to get up in the morning. We all want to provide for our family. We all want to make a wage that's livable. We all are concerned about our health care, our benefits, especially during this time. The pandemic is foremost in most of our minds. And see, I have a unique experience because I actually had COVID. So I understand the difficulties and the concerns about pre-existing conditions and whether I'm going to have any symptoms that affect me, affect my wife, and affect my 11-month-old daughter at this particular time. So it's not just a conservative thing for me. It's people sort of concern for me. I'm thinking about everybody. So I've never been one to say I was a Democrat or conservative or Republican. I've always been an independent. Yes, I tend to lean towards liberal sort of ideals. I do. But there are some conservative principles that fit me as well, such as taxes, you know, such as the abortion sort of thing that people are up in arms over. And me having a legal background, Roe versus Wade is a huge issue for me and my colleagues. We talk about it all the time. We talk about the tax code. We talk about this platinum plan that they're coming up with. We discuss all these things. And it's interesting coming from a perspective in the legal community where a lot of us are conservatives. A lot of us make a decent wage. So we're not looking at it from a different perspective where how am I going to feed my family? We didn't really have that taken care of. It's more of how can I give back? Or do I need to make so much and forget about everybody else while I'm making this? I can make a livable wage and bear my different tax bracket and still feel comfortable and not feel like, well, and also as an entrepreneur, I understand the plight of a small businessman. I understand that plight. So talking to different people, which I like to get a different perspective. I love to talk to conservatives, such as the Michael Birch of the world. I love to talk to them. Him as a real estate person considers himself a mogul, but he is blinded to the little person that they call the little person, the person that is making a lower income, or the person that is not able to provide a suburban living arrangement for their family. So it's very interesting to get that perspective and just to see where they're coming from. And that's generally how I perceive my life. So I leave it at that.
And once again, this is why I invited you to come on with all of these different minds. But what the common denominator from everybody on here tonight is we all want to be able to survive, live, and maintain a living throughout this whole thing, and make sure our kids and our future kids, if we have anybody future kids out here, so any future kids, be able to prosper throughout this. So, Dre, let me ask you about. Because I gotta ask you about the electoral. Do you understand it? How you feel about this process, and how do you just explain a little bit for my viewers on the electoral process?
Okay, well, the electoral process is if you understand that each state gets a certain amount of votes based on the total population or their representatives. So you're looking at what we call battleground states right now, such as Ohio. And my wife is from Ohio, which is a battleground state. So based on the proportion of the populace, you're going to get a certain amount of electoral. It's not based on the total population, but are based on the representatives that you have. So when people talk about, well, look at California, which is huge. So they get a lot of electoral college votes. But then you go into Michigan and then you look at these little Midwestern states, which make a big difference in the voting process. And well, how do you call them when they're so small? And we got to look at those are the countries that, those are the states that basically speak to the heart of America. That's why you call them the heartland. And that's why they have such voting power in the electoral college. But I have an issue with the electoral college as a legal scholar myself. And most of us disagree. If you're going to say we're going to have a democratic process, how can you give basically all power to some people that don't represent populace? They're representing a bunch of officials that don't really reflect the normal people. So if you're going to really call it a democratic process, and if you say the popular vote matters, then don't take it out of the hands of the people. Now they feel like they're slighted in the process. That's just how I feel.
Well, listen, I got somebody in the waiting room that I'm gonna put on blast with that because I know they have a strong opinion about how this process goes. So I'm just gonna bring them on in. How you doing, Mr. Steen? How's everything?
Hey, how's everybody doing? Good evening. Good evening. Happy election eve.
Good evening.
So Steen is no stranger to my show because every time I'm in trouble, he's always there to help me out, to come on the show and give me his opinion. And I didn't know if you heard my frat brother Andre gave that excellent explanation of electoral college, and I know you have some opinion basis on some of this processes. So it ain't new. I know they heard it before, but please tell the people how you know me. Say something nice, or I might have Felicia kick you out of the show.
Well, I know where you live, so you know I certainly don't want you to do that because I'll just come in the door and just look over your shoulder. Okay. And certainly Antwan is the only one that can have me come on live and have my due undone. I'm a little jealous with everybody else out there. I got the COVID look. I don't know where you guys are going to get your haircut, but please share please share that with me because I need a pick. But Antwan and I go back many, many years. I met him when he was in high school, and I was a community police officer, constantly stopping by the schools, just checking on everybody. Not that there was anything going on in the schools. I was just checking on the students that lived in my, at that time, beat, and just allowing them to see me in a non-controversial, non-confrontational role. As well as just checking with the administrators. So I connected with Antwan, and I think as most of you have said, you know, a simple conversation with him causes you to know that there's something different about him. And even as a teenager, his thought process and his mindset and his vision was unexpectedly pleasant for that generation in that time and in that area. So I attached to his coattails and did whatever I could to support him and to let him know that the path that he was on was something that I was going to support one way or the other. I followed him down to North Carolina when he was in school and followed him back up here and followed him into the political arena and, you know, and slapped him when he talked about he was getting tired and sent him back into the ring. But it's really about encouraging, you know, as a seasoned professional, I can say that now since all this gray is showing. As a seasoned professional, I really want to encourage the upcoming generation to get involved because, you know, we have to pass the baton. And Norris, it's great to see you on here and thank you for your service and everything that you're doing. But it is my desire to look back and see that the reins have been turned over to people that are passionate about the country, the community, the society, and their families.
And
how's that? Is that enough to keep me on for a while, or do I still?
I got you on. We'll see how the top of the hour goes, but that was great. That'll keep you involved in everything going on. So Norris, I know Norris, what he left out is I grabbed his coattail, like something about his spirit that was like. I say this every time you're on. I don't know how I became friends with the police. Like, don't know how it happened. Still trying to figure this out. Almost 30 years later, you're getting old, sir. 30 years later, we still have a brotherhood because it's evolved in those 30 years to something different. That it's always a pleasure to hear when you get to see someone walk a walk. Like, you know how when you see your buddies, they doing the wrong thing, you just can go the other way. But when you see somebody living and striving and showing you, hey, this is the way you go. When you decide to go this way, you be like, man, but Steen would kind of not do that, or he would kind of yell at me or something. I don't got time to hear that. So let me at least try to get back over here. I might not get the full straight line, but I'm gonna kind of make a right. And hopefully I get back in that line. So thanks again, Stain, for all you do. I love you so much. I'll never be able to repay you for your contribution, turning me into the man that I am today. Never. But
Takes a
I
village.
do appreciate it.
Takes a
it
village.
does. So, Norris, I was going to ask. I know we're going to look at the top of the hour and see what this is. But before I ask you that, Norris, let's see if Felicia wants to play the video. Felicia, you want to play the video? Because I know we talked about the local electoral college, man. Do you want to go there, or you want me to go ahead and keep asking questions? I got a production. I keep telling y'all, I got a whole production behind the scenes. Like,
Major.
I got stuff. Yeah, I got stuff going on. So I got stuff going on. Let's see what she want to do. If not, if she doesn't play the video in the next 30 seconds, I guess that's my cue to keep rolling. Yep. For some reason, our chat not working. But this will happen when you take your set and you try to move it to a different location. Your communication ain't its way. But okay, Norris, until that comes back up, I'll let you start the next topics off, man. Anything you want to talk about?
Yes, it's crazy that we four are in here now, or five, including Antwan. But all you have said something coming on here that really intrigued me. I know Miss Camille was asking, how did we get here? Andre, you was talking about, being accepting to other people's opinion and what they have to say. And then Mr. Stan, you was talking about just being able to pretty much be a mentor and pass on that knowledge. And I think all that goes back to what Miss Camille was asking, like, how did we get here? Because I know for myself, I'm probably the youngest in the room so far at 35. And I have a very different outlook too. I remember when me and Antwan first met, I'm more of like a grassroots thinker. I feel like sometimes that we're putting so much into the president election that we're forgetting to start at the grassroots level. And that's what you did with Antwan. You started at such a very low level, and that's where change comes. Because as I was asking Miss Camille earlier, as being a first-time voter, I asked almost 15 to 20 people, have they even read the plans of these candidates? And they haven't. So it's like, what are we voting for? What are we truly looking for? Are we looking for change, or are we just kind of voting for what I say, the lesser of the two evils? And I feel like that's why we are where we are, because I want to stay in this chat just to hear your guys' experience, because I want to learn about this electoral thing and how everything works. And I feel like we have to jump on each other's coattails and be open and willing to hear everybody's opinion, because my life as an African-American 35-year-old male has been totally different than your average 35-year-old African-American male, just because I chose a route with the military. So I've been able to see the world. My education has been unlimited. I haven't been limited to what other people would consider. And I'm just trying to see what's the bigger picture, and if anybody in here can like see how we can better educate my generation, because I kind of fall in that, that new generation as well, where, we're looking for everything instantly, like Instagram, Facebook, like we're looking for that. We're looking for instant change. So when I read a presidential candidate's plan, I'm reading the plan. And if that plan doesn't make sense to me, why would I vote for that person? And I understand that it has to go through like different houses and people have to vote on it. But us as a younger generation, we're like, hey, how can this happen right now? So do you all have an opinion on that?
Let me say this really quickly. Instant gratification and government really don't reconcile. Period. Be it local, be it federal. Those are just two opposing words. So they just don't reconcile in most instances. It has to be something that's really crucial and almost an emergency to get things to move in a quick process. I tell people about over in my district, there was a community center that was built as a part of a school. We started years ago when we were building schools and community centers in the same building. Just economically, it made sense. But there was a couple that championed the community center for that community, the police. And I think from the time they began that work to champion until it was actually brought to fruition, it was 10 plus years. 10 plus years. So that's the nature of the beast, unfortunately. And not that it has to stay that way, but it's going to take young people to get engaged and involved to change things. Because as you get older, it's much more difficult to change. And you're just accustomed to how things are and working through that system, and that's what you're used to. Also, I think it's a popularity contest. It really is, because most people just aren't going to take the time to do the work to make it more than that. So hopefully we will get to a point that it's deeper than a popularity contest. And then, because when you get to the federal level, and even with a lot of statewide offices, it takes a lot of money to run for office. It takes you see millions and millions of dollars. There was one race, Senate race, they were talking about they spent hundreds of millions of dollars in this Senate race. So
Georgia's one.
Yeah, so that in and of itself eliminates such a pool of people from the process right from jump, because you're just not in a position and don't have access to those kind of dollars to even compete. So as I said before, there's a long way to go, and there are a number of things that could and should be changed. It's just going to take young people to really be engaged in the process, roll up their sleeves, and make it happen.
Yeah, and Norris, and I want to commend you, because you certainly are doing something that we don't hear a lot about, which is doing the research and asking the questions and researching the candidates and their stances. And we don't hear a lot about that. As a fact, what I hear, or what I've heard over the years, especially here in Prince George's County, is that we have a lot of lazy voters. And they call them lazy voters because they basically vote a ticket, or they vote for a name they've heard over and over again, not digging into what that representative has done on their behalf or against them. I actually attended a rally, and one of the candidates a couple of years ago actually shared with us that there were tests that were done in reference to sample ballots. And when they issued them in various counties around the state of Maryland, the county that stuck closest to the sample ballot was Prince George's. Everybody else, all the other counties, they picked and chose, or they picked and chose their candidates, from that ballot. Some of them, did, most, a lot of them didn't. But when they looked at the statistics in Prince George's County, the majority of the voters that received that sample ballot voted the ballot up and down. And that's where you find yourself, as Camille has mentioned, how do we get here? Because you have people that, I'm just gonna click, write down this sample ballot that was mailed to me, or I'm just going to click on the names that I know. And, I see the polarization that we're in now it's more of a them versus us. And, Andre, gave a great analogy in terms of the reality is we all really want the same thing. We want to live. We want to be healthy. We want benefits. The majority of the folks want the same thing, but I have to, in a sense, give credit to the Republican Party because they've done a great job in demonizing the platform of the Democrats. Like if Joe Biden gets elected, we're, hell is going to freeze over and you're going to be broke and we're going to be back in the 30s. I mean, they've done, even though that's not true, even though the statistics even say the stock market will recover regardless who gets in, even though the facts are there, the Republicans have done their job in reference to scaring their base into coming out. And I know that's a roundabout, but I'm one of those guys as a master of many and a master of none. But you know what it is. I can't even say it. I'm so stressed out. I can't even say it. But
hey, Andre,
you get what I said.
Yes.
Yeah. You want to weigh in on that?
Well, absolutely. Yeah, because I love how you're talking about the process and understanding, and getting information, doing the research, because people talk about the presidency as if it's some mythical being or something of the sort. And it's really not. There are checks and balances. There's a whole process that is set to make sure that every American is available to affect a change if they want to. But then you talk about the special interests, as Camille speaks about money. And I've been around lobbyists and lobbying pretty much for the last 10, 15 years. And you understand, as Mr. Steen talks about, how they get out there and they put a marketing scheme or put a strategy out there and they stick to it. And when you have the money and the special interest and the individuals that you can get in their pockets and they put this platform and a strategy out for people, they don't understand because they're not savvy enough to look deeper than the media. They're not savvy enough to go and understand the little minutiae, which many of us are privy to because we've been around it. I've been around politics or I've been in the legal field. So I understand that, it's a slow trickle down process. There are certain people that hold a magnitude of the power. And there are certain decisions that are made that are not privileged to the normal American or the normal citizen. So when you understand this process, then you understand that you need to start asking questions. You need to start going to the right sources. Like most politicians love to talk to you. You might not be able to get on their books or their schedule, but they'll make time for you to hear their constituents because that's who elects them. It's a slow process. It's not instant gratification. But if you want to know what is going on, you really want to know what's going on, there are ways to get there and get that information. Because, for instance, I'm talking on Facebook with an individual, and he is like, well, the liberals are going to complain about who wins the candidacy. They're going to boycott and they're going to do this. And I'm like, well, if you really understand, it's not really a liberal conservative sort of thing. It's, that's what the politician wants people to believe. So they make you think that, you have to go out there and vote a certain party line or hell is going to freeze over. And that's not necessarily the case. Everybody has an agenda. If you can see the agenda for what it is, then you can make an educated and informed decision.
And I think that's a great point. The other thing is that I would always tell my constituents that going out to vote once every 4 years does not alleviate or remove your responsibility to ensuring that your government works for you. So that means sometimes you have to go to be it the county council or the city council meeting or your homeowners association meeting to take it to the very basic level. And you have to give input. So just because you vote once every 4 years, that doesn't absolve you of your responsibility to the government.
Yes, the process
That
is
was-
ongoing.
Absolutely.
Ongoing.
And that was a hard,
yeah.
that was a hard decision. That was a hard process for myself because I thought if I went to help people on their campaign and I decided to read the books and listen to the news, that I was doing my part as a citizen, not understanding that no, it's a process that even like you said, joining my civic association, getting on one of the committees, and then ultimately becoming president of that civic association to be able to help and understand a little bit more than I knew even when I was just a committee member. It's good. Y'all gotta excuse me. The dog was in the other room. He's going off because he's in his cage. So, I'm not in my location.
I'm about to call animal control or social services or something.
The person that owns the dog is one of those dogs that's used to being out and about and free. And since you got all these people here, she put them up. And I was like, oh, poor puppy. But the process is good. So with that being said, one of the things that just came in, because this is a watch party, y'all. So I'm letting y'all know, even though I'm not in front of the TV like I planned, we are still watching and tracking. And Joe Biden just won New York, which I think is very big. They just announced New York for Joe Biden. So
And New Jersey, right?
Yeah, in New Jersey, and I think it was it Vermont? It wasn't Indiana.
Vermont
Was earlier. So we got some calls coming in, but I think New York is big, and I'm gonna play with my little gadget. Let me see if Felicia's ready. You ready, Fee? She not ready. So we're gonna bring it up, and then we'll see how that works because we trying something new on this day. That we're gonna play around with it on election night and see if we can incorporate it a little later in the show. But
Antwan, I said this.
Here we go.
I said this. Oh wow. I'm just gonna really quickly just say I've said this in the past on the other shows, but for a lot of the first time guests, I commend you for using this platform and putting this out there because this is something that helps those voters or those voters to be to understand the process before they go into the polling places. So congratulations and thank you for doing what you're doing.
I appreciate it. As always, I'm just taking cues from great men in front of me. So thank you. Always. So okay, here's my little toy, y'all. I was like, hey, babe, let's find a clickable road to 270. We're going to fill it in a little bit more throughout the night. I know most of you probably not going to stay on for the whole night, but we're going to try and get it filled in. So like I said, we got New York. We know Vermont went blue. We're going to start filling in some of the red. We're going to bring it up periodically, and then we're going to figure it out. So that way we can track this thing as far as we can, and then hopefully I'll just post the end result in one of my social medias. I don't know which one yet, but we'll figure it out once we finish clicking and once the night is called. And if that's tonight, if that's tomorrow, if that's next week, we're going to have this map filled out and we're going to try to post it up on one of the sites so everybody can see it. But my 4 guests here, you get to witness history because this is the first time we have ever did anything like this where we split the screen and we follow the road to 260 and the dog is excited, as you can hear in the background. He's excited to do so. So if you guys, I know you guys are watching it, if you put in the chat, if you hear something before we put it up, let me know so we can bring back up the road to 270 and see how this thing's turning out. All right, thank you, Fee. So that was my little, my bright idea to do this show. I was like, I want to follow like they do in the news. I got people that we can talk to, I can bring on. I got some other people. So okay, it's 1 hour, 15 minutes in, guys. This is your opportunity to leave. Anybody sticking around? They got to go. All right, Camille, thank you so much.
Anytime. We're getting close to my bedtime.
Yeah, I understand. Camille, I'm publicly saying I will be calling you soon to talk to you.
Anytime.
All right.
Everyone have a great evening.
You too.
Have a great evening.
Take care, Camille.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I'm probably going to drop out in about 30 minutes. So at me like I'm crazy. So
Well,
So
no, that's okay. Like I said, I just wanted everybody to come in. I honestly, guys, you guys have stuck with me for this long. I didn't expect you to, so I appreciate you hanging in there with me, enjoying the conversation because some of the minds we can't get smarter without some of these conversations. And I feel like a lot of us do it in silos. We get our pockets of friends. We have these conversations, but we don't really have these conversations out publicly. And there's a lot of people out there talking, especially for Black men. They're talking about what our needs are and our feelings and our mental health and the struggles that we go through, but they never asked us. I don't know if any of them called you, but they never had called me and asked me what were some of my issues growing up or growing up. But they are out here making laws, making changes on our behalf, and then they label us as things that I've never seen. I just haven't gone through that process. But like I say this over and over again, I know Prince George's County is an anomaly. It's different when it comes to the education of Black people. When I moved down to North Carolina, when I traveled across the different states from being in the Army, now we got people knocking on the door, y'all. I'm in a bad spot. I apologize. So it's different from that county perspective, but it also gave me a holistic view of, oh, they just don't know. Like it's not that they dislike us or they just don't understand that it's a whole different dynamic when it comes to an educated Black male or a young male that's looking for education or a process to gain through along the way. It's just different. But so all of us in generations is on and on. But I'm being summoned in the middle of my show, so I'm going to turn it over to Steen. Steen, could you continue this conversation for me? Just go into the next topic, and I'll be right back.
Sure, absolutely. And Andre, I want to come back to you because you talked about the electoral process, and certainly that's something that probably is the least understood when it comes to the elections. And we were under the understanding that when the process was developed, it was to make the system fairer. When you have populations like California that have like 39 million compared to Rhode Island that have 1 million, that electoral process was what was put in place to make sure that all of one party's voters don't go to one state and take over the system. Is that not what it turned out to be, or what is your take on that?
well, it like you said, that was the spirit of the Electoral College. And I think for the most part, it accomplished its task. But now we're more savvy as Americans, or at least we should be. Electoral College back in when the Constitution and we were getting started was saying they believed that there were certain people or group of Americans that knew better than average, normal, everyday American. Yes, they said they disguised it saying the number of representatives. So certain states like California or certain large populace like New York, you want to say that, hey, we're going to do it based on the representatives so they don't dominate the vote, or they don't. But really, the framers intended to say most Americans are not that savvy if you understand the framers' intention. So they said, let's put in a process where, oh, the people got it wrong. they might have wanted to vote for this person, but we know that he was not the right decision. So we're going to give it to more high-minded, educated people and let them make the decision. That shouldn't be the process today. If we have a process and we say, hey, this is going to be a democratic day, they have spoken, they've made the decision, and this is who we want. The total popular vote should make the difference. We shouldn't say that these people are not educated or savvy enough to make their own choices and say who has the right to run the free world, the best country in the world. I just truly believe that.
And you know what? Let me go back to what you just said, because that was something that came up that I think was an aha moment for a lot of people. The Electoral College and I don't know whether it's been changed based on based on lawsuits that happened after the last election, but the electoral college is not required to follow the popular vote in their county or their state. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is absolutely correct. So again, you have to understand that there's people at the top that's saying, hey, we're going to find a way to manipulate the system if possible. And it's not a conspiracy theory. This is actually facts. This is true. They're saying, well, the people may not know what's right for them. So let's give it to people that we believe should know or in the know and to make this decision. And I am a firm believer that this is a republic with a democratic process. People don't understand that this is not a democracy. It is a republic with a democratic process of government. Democratic process means that the people choose who govern, not the governed have the decision to choose who they represent the people. It's the other way around. And when you understand this process and you say, college has run its course, it's no longer needed. And we truly want to this is the democratic process of electing our officials, then let's make it a true democratic process.
Yeah, that's an interesting place to be in when we are the example around the world of a democracy, and certainly we have shown within the last 4 years, and even leading up to tonight, the flaws that we have in this place, and that goes back to Norris. That goes back to you in terms of educating yourself and your peers. It has been, and Antwan, you can take it back whenever you're ready, but you can see how influential the media has been in reference to the mindset of the people. And your generation is the one that I think they are targeting. What has been your take on what you have received from the media, from social media, from the news media, in reference to your position in the political process?
It's funny that you asked that question because I actually got, I won't say the person like insulted me, but in my workplace, I didn't watch any of the debates. I like to be a free thinker. So I like to just I know things are going on around me. I know the debates were going on. I see the things that go on news, but I try to like research a lot on my own. I wanted my opinion to be my opinion. I feel like I didn't allow social media to like dictate how I wanted to vote or how I wanted to think. And a lot of this came from just reading books as well. I know like Malcolm Gladwell book talks about this, Speaking to Strangers, and it kind of goes back to Andre's point as well. It's that, it's all about how we all communicate at the end of the day. That kind of dictates how we end up thinking, especially for us younger people who we feel more entitled now. So it doesn't even take the media to sway a vote. It could just be the way someone's responding to us, the way somebody's accepting a rapper. Like we laughed earlier before you got in, Steam, but the Platinum Plan. When I first heard about that and heard Ice Cube speak about that, that was very intriguing to me because Ice Cube didn't just speak; he had stats behind what he was saying. But then when you go do the research yourself, a lot of those stats weren't really accurate stats that he was speaking on. So that's why I tried not to I didn't watch all the noise. That's what I look at it as, noise, because when I looked on Facebook, nobody told me about the debate. They was worried about a fly on someone's head. Or
right.
Or somebody was worrying about, oh, this lady controlled the mute button tonight. So I wasn't getting any positive feedback from social media. So why should I waste my time listening to that when I have all the things at my access? When I wanted to see what Joe Biden's plan was, all I had to do was click on Google, go to his website, and I was able to read all his visions, his plans, I really didn't need anyone to like give me anything. And I know I'm probably the 1%. I know everybody's not doing, everybody's not doing that, but that's how I kind of was able to do that. But I do feel like our generation, to kind of answer your question, I do feel like our generation is more driven by the social media aspect of it. And I mean, it's kind of hard to tell a kid who loves Lil Wayne and they see Lil Wayne taking a picture with the current member in the house, and it's kind of hard to not say, okay, let me go vote that way. So I would tell my generation to pretty much kind of block out the noise and educate yourself. Because I feel like if you make the best choice for you, that's really the best choice for you. That's how I think. I feel, and me and Antwan talked about this when I first met him. I don't know if I'm in denial, but for 35 years of my life, no president hasn't affected my life.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
So when I go through life, I go through life with a more positive outlook, you know, and that's what I try to spread to other African-American men of my age. Is like, no, we can accomplish these things. We don't need anybody to help us accomplish these things but ourselves. Just like recently, you know, Miss Camille was talking about money earlier. But I feel like we are blinded by our social media influencers. Look at LeBron James, for instance, right? You got a multi-millionaire, probably going to be soon to be a billionaire. If he really wanted to see a certain person succeed as a president, he can push that person financially. But we as a world, we made him focus on social injustice. You see what I mean? Like, I feel like that's what our world is doing. Let's take these people who really can push the envelope and get their mind on something that they really can never really change. Social injustice isn't going to change. That's not going to change. It doesn't matter who's in the house. Those are people actions. Those aren't. That's not a president's action. Those cops are not presidents. That's just a person's action. And again, I know I already spoke about the book, but it talks about that, the Sandra Bland story in the Speaking to How to Talk to Strangers in the Malcolm Gladwell book. He talks about that those interactions are interactions that could have just been changed off of a conversation. And we have to learn how to communicate as people first before we can even change the social injustice wheel. So for me, as a young African-American, I got kind of bored and tired of the social injustice thing, because it was going on for 2 weeks at a time, and then people will fade off and we'll start talking about something else, and then someone else will pass away, and then we come back. And to me, I just never seen any consistency. So those things just made me more of a free thinker, and I wanted to research on my own so that I can make the best decision for myself and my family, because I have children. So I wanted to make the best choices for them.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest. Go ahead, Antwan. Go ahead.
Well,
No. Go ahead, Zane. I'll chime in.
I kind of just want to follow up with that. That is a great point that you make, Nora, because there's a lot of exploitation of the African American experience to the benefit of certain political agendas. There's an expectation that we're going to lean one way or we're going to lean the other. And if you do not follow that trend, then either you're an Uncle or you're a person of a derogatory nature. Thinkers are not too welcome, unfortunately, in our community. And I'm one of those that say, well, what's wrong with hearing the other side of the argument if it can benefit my people, right? If it can help us, then why can't I meet with this individual that does not necessarily support everything that I think, but maybe in a position to help me? It's because we just threw a party for Halloween, and the Lil Wayne, the Ice Cube conversations, they come up as they do. So I voice my opinion and say, well, I have no problem with Ice Cube and Lil Wayne. The only issue I have with them in the meeting is that they were exploited without getting something in writing. I want you, if I'm going to meet with you, I don't want to leave with a handshake. I want to leave with a guarantee. And then I also want to be informed on the information on the subject that I'm talking about. There's no problem with meeting with somebody that doesn't share your views, because it allows you to enlighten and broaden your own stance or position on a particular topic. We're too stubborn as a people, where we're saying we have to think this way or we have to think that way. And both of those ways can meet at some nice amalgamation and give us a benefit that could be tremendous to our people. Because look, Trump has done some good things for the African American community as far as the HBCU, thinking as he made sure that there was funding. But now we also got to look at what he gets in the long run. There always are some sort of payoffs that come in the end. So we got to make sure that what we give is not more than what we receive. So I try to educate my nephews, any person that I talk to, my cousins or my friends, to say, look, there's nothing wrong with communication. That's how we commit to some sort of agreement. That's how we uplift each other. Sitting and having one particular point of view is not going to help us in the long run. It's going to only keep us stagnant. It's just like Mr. Steen said that we have to grow. And the only way we grow is through communication. Just like Antwan said, we have to communicate with everyone to get a different perspective so we can grow as a people, because liberals can't do it by themselves. Conservatives can't do it by themselves. And if you're in the system or in the trenches, like I am, like some of us, then we understand that you have to move the margin. You have to move somewhere toward a moderate sort of ideal in order to get things done. Because look, that's why you have political parties. You know, it's to bounce ideas. Not everybody's going to be the same. We all have to come and realize that we share ideals and work together to get the job done.
And to round off yours, because I know you close to your getting off the show point, and I appreciate this. But to round it off, you're absolutely right. And what I think we, Mr. Mark, on the local side is we miss that we have to work with these people. We do a lot of bickering and fighting through political processes and go through all this stuff, but behind closed doors, you know, you got to be in a room with this particular person to hear it out, to come up with the best outcome for everybody. And as a people, and I'll focus on the race this time. I said I wasn't, but as a race, you're right. We have to be able to have a better communication level, better understanding of all things possible from everybody's lens, so we can all fit it into our one little box called this world, and we can live amongst each other, and without, you know, having a possibility or a thought of a civil war, right? Like that shouldn't even be a thought right now, because we are all angry at a position someone else taking. Vice versa. I can't believe that Walmart had to take ammunition off the shelf and put it back. Like that shouldn't be a thing that we have to worry about within our society because of someone else's views.
Right.
Like, you know, I understand, and I keep telling my Fordsville buddies are probably gonna say I'm a little soft right now, Steve, but I've always been like, come on, man, we don't gotta do all this fighting. Like, let's talk it out. Like, he just don't like you because of something. Like, let's figure out what that something is. See if we can meet in the middle. We might not like the outcome fully, but let's come up with something. Let's compromise something. Let's get it done, and let's see if we can figure it out. So we won't be at this fighting point again. You know, of course. But right now, everybody ready to put up their hands or load up and go out here and shoot and kill. And it's kind of weird and crazy. And I didn't think I would grow up into the place that I left. Like we grew up in those street mentality type things and how they act and moved and react. And I didn't think as an adult that I would be looking at it as a nation, which is crazy. But Dre, I'm gonna let you go, man. Kiss the baby girl. She was beautiful as ever. Tell her, Mrs., thank you for letting me steal your time.
Yeah,
what you didn't say is beautiful father. Always a great mind. Great conversation, brother, man. I appreciate you coming on tonight. I would like you to come back one time because I think I got about 2 more shows. So just to come through on that finale show, just to say a little couple words and slide in, slide out. And so,
no problem. It's my pleasure, and it's long time overdue. I'm going to definitely try to free up my schedule and make sure, because I enjoyed you all tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Appreciate you.
Thank
You
you.
know,
All right.
Norris, you brought up a good point in reference to, well, actually, Camille brought up an excellent point in reference to how did we get here. And Norris, your point on top of that was the frustration of not seeing any organization when it came to these rallies and these protests. And that has been my biggest issue, because even in the Black Lives Matter movement, there is the Black Lives Matter statement and there's the Black Lives Matter movement. And so people have taken the fact that you don't support the Black Lives Matter movement as you don't support Black Lives Matter statement. And it's because it hasn't been clear in reference to the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, you know, the difference between the civil disobedience in the 60s and the civil disobedience now is that there was organization in the 60s where you had the protesters and you had the people that were on the line, but you also had the lawyers that were in the courtroom and you know, the NAACP, and you had, you know, the committees working behind the scene. Here, it just seems like you have the bell that rings like the fire department, where everybody, okay, today we're going to go rally, and by the time you get out there and you're protesting and you're chanting, you know, how Black Lives Matter, you find yourself rallying around a mute point. You know, you're rallying around a situation that was justified. But because you didn't take the time to research, because you didn't wait for all the facts to come in, and you just ran out there, you know, you start minimizing the effect of what you're standing for. And what happens is the people that would help move the conversation forward,
Mm-hmm.
they don't participate because they're like, well, you know, it's like Chicken Little. And I don't know if you're kind of young, so you might not know the story about Chicken Little, but
I
you know,
remember that one.
all right. Well, thank you. I got you right at the 30s. Boy, if you were in your 20s, you'd be like, chicken who? Fried chicken? But Chicken Little used to always talk about the sky was falling, and then when the sky started falling, nobody believed him because he said it so much. And that's where my concern is, where we are. You know, I'm a retired law enforcement officer, and I will tell you that there is reform that is needed. But what I won't tell you is defunding and disbanding the police department is the answer. But that is where the lack of organization and the lack of clarity comes out. And again, that's where the Republicans have done a great job with their base, saying that, oh, the Democrats want to get rid of your safety by disbanding law enforcement, which in just the common sense mindset is ridiculous to even have that conversation. We're not, you know, somebody mentioned the movie Purge. I mean, that is not what anybody, as Andre just said, that is not what anybody wants. I don't care whether you're moderate, whether you're conservative, whether you're liberal. Nobody wants to have a self-police society today. So, you know, I mentioned that because, you know, you brought up a good point in terms of your frustration with, you know, it's like they call it the shiny object syndrome, where all of a sudden you're over here and then you see another shiny object, and you run it over there, and then something happened up in California, we're going to run over there, and then something happened in North Carolina, we're going to run back down there, and then there's no clarity and there's no organization. And for that network that wants confusion, they love it, because as long as you're divided, you'll never come together and make anything happen.
And you are absolutely right, Norris. Listen, I'm gonna take one more thing from you. I know you might want to respond to Steve, and before you do that, Felicia is updating our map off of the Associated Press, so it's not just us. We ain't just out here clicking things. So we're updating the map off the Associated Press, and we'll continue to go. But I said I wasn't going to be over here longer than an hour and a half, and I am past that mark, Norris. So I'm going to let you say some final words on your half, and then I'm going to kind of close it out. And then me and Felicia will continue to update this map. We're going to post it on all our social medias, so you'll be able to get that and keep it going. So go ahead, Norris, while I answer the door, because I'm on door duty too.
No problem. I appreciate you having me on, Antwan. Mr. Steen, I hope I get to meet you sometime. Hopefully we cross paths. But the biggest thing for me is just I'm hoping that more and more people are open to conversations, because that's the biggest thing that we need, is to be able to have the conversations. And before I leave, I never got to say it, but we also this year, if we get what we're hoping to get in this election, that hopefully that we hold these individuals accountable, because I think that lacked the last president before the current one. Now that we got our first African American president, and I feel like we got very lax. And I feel like that everything was kind of like, well, we got them there now. Change is going to happen, and some things did happen, but that's the biggest thing I would like to leave everybody, anybody who's viewing, anybody who's in the chat. It's just, let's hold the person accountable, and we have to see that accountability go through. And that's the reason why I choose to read their plans, because that's the only way I can hold you accountable, if I'm aware of what your plan was originally. So but I really appreciate you, Antwan, providing me the time to be on here again. Antwan, I told Mr. I need to make sure I meet him as well. So if you can link that up somehow, I need to make sure that I can meet him before I got at least a solid 3 more years here. So I need to make sure that we meet. But I appreciate it, and I hope that my questions today, I hope that helps somebody who had those same questions as well. So I appreciate it.
But Norris, and that is an easy do, because Mr. Steen, as like I told you, 30 years of being in my life, anytime he sees someone like you, I'm sure he was going to say, you need to make sure Norris is on the team somehow, some way. So we'll make that happen. And Steen, I want to thank you again, brother. Always an honor to have you on. Thank you for showing people a different light and a different journey for all the things you do. Thanks for always blessing me in my life and me and my family. We appreciate you on our half, and thanks for joining the show. Every time I need you, you're always there.
Absolutely. And again, I appreciate you, and thank you for what you're doing. Continue to do what you're doing. Norris, continue to be that spokesperson, because you guys are a breath of fresh air, and the media is not going to tap into you because you are that fresh air. They go by the analogy, if it bleeds, it leads. And, so they're looking for unrest. They're looking for fires. They're looking for, violence, because that's what their ratings are based off of. But the world needs to see this. The world needs to see this educated conversation, this thoughtful process, and they need to hear that people are actually doing it, involved in it. The media from early on, from Benjamin Franklin to the Hearst Company, have always been manipulative. And so we have got to not forget that when we are paying attention to what's going on. Some of the language, some of the verbiage that they use, is tainted towards where they want you to be. And we have to be better than that as a community. There used to be a saying, check, and then check again before you release the information. Well, that, like Walk the Concrete, died years ago. Now it's, the first one to hit with the story, they get the ratings. So platforms like this, I'm very supportive of, because they really go to the heart of the issues. They filter out all of the noise, and they are used to educate people where they can go and find sources to check and make sure that what we're saying is correct. So again, thank you very much, and both of you guys keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Man, and thanks again. And like I said, I'm going to go to me. Like, this is the last 7 minutes of the show. It's not quite how I planned it. We've been up here fluxing through, but maybe we do something special and a special election or something. I don't know, but maybe we'll do it through the process in 2 years. We'll try to figure out this election show. But I'm glad y'all guys was on. I hope you had fun. I hope you guys learned something from each other, because every time I bring on guests, I always learn something new. And like both of you, I'm going to try to do an end of the season show, which is I think the week before Thanksgiving. I said the holiday I'm gonna take off and start back in January. So I would love to have both of you on for that, just for a few minutes, share your thoughts and how everything going. We should see who our president is by that time. We should see how this all shakes out. Yeah, let's hope.
If we don't know by
So
then, that's the least. Turkey is the least of our problems. If we don't know by then.
So I love to have y'all in for that end of the show, and that'll wrap up my first season of my Friday night talks and all that stuff that we started to do. I know Norris, I know we talked about influencers a lot, and I'm trying to be that for the elected official side of it. Because one thing I didn't want to ever do was get in a position where I am an elected official and nobody ever sees me, nobody ever hears from me, and then granted, like I said, I understand there's some things I can't say and some things I can't share. But what you're not going to be able to do when I'm in office, out of office, to say you never had an opportunity to come in and share for yourself and hear from other people that has a great opinion and make a decision for yourself. So that's what this show is about. That's what we're here for. And I'll try to bring in, like, I'm still going to invite the opposition. I'm still going to invite them onto the show. We're going to hear all opinions on this show, and we're going to be able to go out and change our communities. Are going to change some of our laws, and we will be able to change what people feel, how they feel throughout the process of their lives. So that's what we're here for. So, guys, I appreciate it again. I'm going to go and say my little 5-minute rant, and then so you guys hang on. Don't leave the back room yet, because I want to talk to you for a second. All right. So, hey, guys, you know how we do this, the last little bit of rant that I get at the end of the show. So we are not going to know the president of the United States tonight. We're not going to know the president of the United States tonight. I know I'm doing this road to 270, and I understand that this process is going to take a while. We did a new process of how we count the ballots. It's not a new process for the United States of America. We've always had absentee ballots. That process always exists, and we've always not known full counts of an election after the presidential election. We have modernized it where we can kind of guess and guesstimate through great data to say we can call it for this person. But you are not going to know through all counted votes who the president is. Don't be afraid of this process tonight. Enjoy yourself with this process tonight. Have fun watching it. Start looking through different channels to understand what we have going on in the different states and how it differs from your state, and just figure out what you need to know now. Now, I'm going to give you a charge. Don't let this be the greatest election that we've ever seen, because it's turning out to be that with early voting and how people are lining up for the polls. This is turning out to be one of the greatest elections that we ever see. Now, the two candidates are great. I'm not saying that. The process is great. I'm not saying that. I'm just talking about the efforts that we're taking to make sure that our political power is heard across the board. This is awesome. Don't forget about this in 2 years. Make sure you go out and do your thing in 2 years and look at the Senate races. Look down the down ballots. Identify, I keep saying, identify somebody that's young, savvy enough to roll through this political process and say, hey, you might be good for the, like I think Miss Camille said earlier, something on the civic association, your homeowners association. Get involved in those things. Start learning the process from the lower level, and then it will clarify some of this national stuff. I'm only talking that from experience, because I've always, when I first wanted to get into this occupation, I looked at the top down. It's not until I got involved locally, very small, in my civic association, started learning how those processes work. It opened up how county council work, and they make the laws, and how the mayors have to go to their city councils, and how the budget is approved by county council. The county executive have to give her budget to the county council to be able to maneuver the things that she do. Things that I didn't know. I just wasn't vast on how the process worked. I didn't have to know how everybody's job worked. I need to know how the process worked. So if I needed to get trash removal back, because we went from 1 day to 2 days, I know I need to talk to the county council because they work on the budget. I know I need to send letters to the county executive. I know I need to find public works. I know I need to send all these letters to these people so we can try to gain on this process. Road to 270, my special watch party virtually from a private location. I was going to walk around, but I didn't know how people might feel. So we did it here. You heard all of my awesome people that came on. Thank you, Angie. Thank you, Camille. Thank you, Andre. Thank you, Norris. Thank you, Steen. Thank you for the people that that couldn't make it, that I invited. I'll just try to get them on the next show, one or two. But you know how to find me on my elected official page at Antwan Brown on Facebook, Antwan C. Brown on YouTube. Make sure you, I think it's ACB Cast Fee. Put the email up. Make sure you email me a blank email so you can follow me there. It is acb@bcast.email. Send me a blank email so we can send out some more information. Make sure you go like my YouTube page. Make sure you go like the elected official Antwan Brown page. Make sure you like anything that I do. Share this information tonight. If you ain't shared none of them, any of my other shows, this one right here, please share this. The people that came on gave some very, very good information about how this process works, how we going to get past it, some feelings that we have on all the different subjects. Great show. The door's calling me. That's my cue to go out. Have a good night, y'all. I'll see you next Friday. Have a good one.